Hello and welcome to Ben Television News. I am Nkiru Obuyi. First, the highlights. President Jonathan urged stakeholders, traditional rulers, politicians to promote peace rather than resort to conflict. Vice President Namadi Sambo said work is to commence on the 3,050 megawatt Mambila Hydro Dam. Nigerian Senate resumes last lap of the 7th National Assembly as Nigeria joins the rest of the world in marking World Refugee Day. Now the news. President Goodluck Jonathan has called on stakeholders, traditional rulers, youth organizations, religious and political leaders, especially in the troubled state, to look for ways of promoting peace and dialogue rather than resort to conflict and violence, which serves no useful purpose. President Jonathan made this call while declaring open a 2-day international conference on security and development challenges of pastoralism in West and Central Africa in Kaduna, Northwest Nigeria. Our correspondent, Festus Fifen, who was there, now completes the report.
Speaking on the theme, the role of pastoralists in preventing insurgency and conflict for sustainable peace and national security, President Goodluck Jonathan, who was represented by Vice President Namadi Sambo, said that the conference is part of Nigeria's consultative framework towards the realization of peace and mutual understanding, especially as it affects pastoralists.
Livestock production, just like other activities in the agricultural sector, is an important part of our agricultural system. The bulk of our livestock production lies in the hands of transhuman pastoralists, agro-pastoralists, and other farmers. These local producers strive to meet the protein and dairy needs of our nation, as well as maintaining a balanced ecosystem. The intensity and dimension of conflicts, and over the last few years, has reached an alarming proportion, with attendant unfortunate losses of lives and properties. Terrorists capitalizing on the lingering pastoralist-farmers clashes have formed a hybrid type of insurgency whereby they masquerade as pastoralists to wage a war against the state. I call on stakeholders, community leaders, religious leaders, youth groups, and political leaders to continue to promote the cause of peace and dialogue rather than to resort to conflict and violence, which serves no useful purpose.
In their separate remarks, Speaker of the House of Representatives Aminu Tambuwa, Niger State Governor Babangida Aliyu, and the host Governor Ramalan Yero all applauded the giant steps taken by the Office of the National Security Advisor in organizing the conference and urged all stakeholders to collectively find a solution to conflict that characterizes pastoralists in the course of moving from one place to the other.
Although the conflict between pastoralists and farmers have been with us for as long as we can remember, the clashes have recently become too frequent and too brutal, with sophisticated weapons being used on all sides. I have no doubt that it is because of the nature of the current crisis that the Office of the NSA decided to host this crucial conference. I must commend the initiative of the NSA and its team, and I hope that we will continue to see more of this kind of interventions so that we can better understand the issues before rolling out policies for them.
Undoubtedly, the nomadic pastoralists, like I said, contribute significantly, not only to the economic growth and development of our nations, but also to the food security of the nation, which is an integral part of national security in its wider dimension. Given that food security is the sine qua non for peace and development in any society, the need to understand the social and cultural dynamics of the pastoralists therefore becomes imperative to enable us to engage with them effectively.
That the ongoing aggressive organization in most parts of the country has become a major threat, not only to pastoralists but also to farmers. For pastoralists to play any active part in enhancing national security, there has to be deliberate effort and integrating them into society.
Chairman of the occasion, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Akinwumi Adesina, said the issue of climate change and the demand for grassland has generated a lot of conflict as farmers and rural dwellers continually have face-off with these herdsmen. He therefore noted that the government is working seriously to make sure that pastoralists in the country have identification.
We must move away from moving animals to moving processed beef, as this will reduce the conflicts we have between pastoralists and farmers over grazing lands. The role of pastoralists in preventing insurgency and conflicts to enhance national security cannot be overemphasized. We must therefore intensify efforts in finding solutions to mitigate unwanted effects of pastoralism as well as insecurity. We must develop the use of modern technologies such as satellite imagery and remote sensing to track the movement of animals within and across our borders. These technologies will allow us to do easier mapping of livestock carrying capacities within countries, which will also facilitate better demarcation of areas with capacity for sustaining livestock populations without degrading the environment. We must now register all our pastoralists. We must develop a comprehensive livestock information system to allow for tracking animals. This will involve the use of branding, tagging, and inserting electronic chips in animals to track movements, as is being done today in Botswana and Namibia. In addition, animals will not be allowed to move without pastoralist transhumant certificates.
Speaking earlier, the National Security Advisor Mohammed Dasuki said the conference is aimed at finding a lasting solution to incessant crisis between pastoralists and farmers, which, if not properly handled, could degenerate into very serious security situations, which will be of no interest to the nation.
This conference is unique in that it has brought together actors not only from pastoralist communities, but also from other local and international groups. These include traditional leaders, faith-based organizations, the media, and civil society organizations, as well as other critical stakeholders, with a view to finding lasting solutions to the incessant conflicts and violence. As I welcome you all, I have to emphasize that we have no option to coexistence. Peaceful coexistence requires compromises. We must be prepared to make these compromises that will allow us to peacefully coexist, while at the same time allow us to get on with our productive lifestyles.
The conference was well attended by traditional rulers, service chiefs, political and religious leaders, including the diplomatic community. Crisis between Fulani herdsmen, farmers and rural dwellers is one security challenge the nation is facing. The Office of the National Security Advisor has brought together stakeholders in the agricultural sector to find a lasting solution to this recurring phenomenon. It is believed that the outcome and recommendation of this conference will find a lasting solution to the problem of Fulani herdsmen and their immediate community. From Hotel 17 in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, I am Festus Ejiroga Nefife for Ben Television News.
Nigerian Senate resumed the last lap of the 7th National Assembly on a sad note following the death of a current 7th Senator, Dahiru Kutta. As a result of this development, the Senate adjourned plenary to pay respect to the late senator as they filed out to mark the condolence register. Senate President David Mark and the leadership of the Senate paid glowing tributes to Senator Dahiru Kutta.
Obviously, we've lost a nationalist, a very patriotic Nigerian, one who has placed the interest of this country well above his own personal interests.
The husband of our female senators, and you know what I mean by that for those of you who cover the Senate. Of course, I've lost a man I call my fellow comrade. He's indeed a great man, a man who does his work diligently, a man who sees Nigeria from the point of view of patriotism.
Life and soul of the Senate. He brought laughter even in the most difficult of situations. He was a friend to everybody, and a friendship he offered from his heart.
A man who served his country with marked distinction. His sudden demise is a clear demonstration of the fragility of human existence.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to commemorate the 2014 World Refugee Day, a United Nations report indicates that over 51 million persons are living in refugee-like situations around the world. In Nigeria, it is estimated that about 300,000 people are internally displaced in the northeast due to the challenge of insurgency. At a ceremony in Abuja, the nation's capital, to observe this year's edition of World Refugees Day, the Minister of Special Duty, Kabiru Turaki, expressed government's commitment to address the challenges as well as eliminate causes of refugee situations in the country.
The federal government of Nigeria is firmly committed to the principle of finding durable and lasting solutions, not only to those that have been displaced, but to also do everything that is humanly possible to prevent or avoid such unfortunate situations from happening.
In her remarks, the Federal Commissioner of Refugees, Hajia Hadiza Kaindiwa, who attributed armed conflict as the major source of refugee situation in Nigeria, called for implementation of a multi-stakeholder approach to address the challenges.
Most refugees and people living in refugee-like situations are from countries suffering from conflict. For instance, the highest number of refugees we have from Afghanistan. We have refugees from Syria, Somalia. These countries represent more than half of the world refugees. If you add figures coming from other countries suffering from civil strife, such as South Sudan, Central African Republic, the figure is likely to soar.
In Nigeria, we know that we have a major concern of a growing number of citizens affected by conflicts who have become internally displaced, and some unfortunately have become refugees in neighboring countries such as Cameroon.
Now, a big part of our commitment to refugees in the United States, of course, is resettlement in the United States. We take about 70,000 refugees a year, of which about 16,000 come from Africa. That is a proud tradition of ours to have that open door to refugees, and that will continue. But of course, that's not enough. You have to also be committed to the refugees who are in place, in camps or wherever around the world. And in order to do that, we contribute well over $2 billion a year to protect, shelter, and care for the displaced around the world. That includes contributions to organizations that we are proud to support, such as UNHCR, ICRC, and IOM.
The theme for the 2014 World Refugee Day is a minute thought for the displaced and the oppressed. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Atahiru Jega, has called on all political parties and politicians to enter into the political arena with respect for the full compliance of the Code of Conduct. He stated this at the second quarterly meeting with political parties in Abuja, the Nigerian capital. In his remark, Atahiru Jega said the meeting is to brief of the progress and challenges faced by the Commission in the distribution of permanent voters' cards, also the approved guidelines for the political party registration and scheduling of party primaries. He commended the conduct of free and fair elections in Ekiti, saying it is a sign of good omen for subsequent elections for the satisfaction of the aspiration of Nigerians for a consolidated democracy. The Nigerians' main opposition party, the All Progressives Congress, recently held its first national convention in Abuja, the nation's capital, which produced its first elected national executives. A cross-section of party members have been speaking on the major challenges before the new leadership of the party ahead of next year's general elections. Correspondent Miwa Bamdele completes the story.
With 2015 general election ahead of the party, it's not against saying there's a serious task before the new leadership of the party. Some shifting of the party in their submission revealed that the party has a huge responsibility ahead of it. executive of the APC?
Well, I think the most immediate one is to try to assuage all discontented members of the party. You know, whenever there is election or there are elections, usually you end up having some internal squabbles. So the first, the immediate program of the leadership, of the new leadership, is to try to reunite the party. All those who felt they have not been treated fairly should be assuaged, discussed, and brought back into the fold.
It's a huge responsibility because the entire work of building the party now lies with them. It's also an election year. They are the ones who are going to take us into the election. What they do will determine the success or otherwise of this political party.
So the main challenge is managing the success so far. And I think the leadership is up to it. That is the thing.
Issue of reconciling party men and women. I was the secretary of the convention planning committee, and I do know that some people felt hot that their candidate did not win, or the candidates themselves felt that they should have won. And they didn't see reason why in a consensual arrangement some party men will tell them that they don't want them to occupy the positions they had wished to occupy. Therefore, for those who are feeling bitter, we need to get to them.
Following the poor performance of the party in the just concluded governorship election in Ekiti State, the Nigerian Opposition Party will need to put its house in order to achieve success in the forthcoming general election. Muyiwa Bamidele reporting for Ben Television News, Abuja.
Still to come, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says the newly elected Ekiti Governor IF Aishe still has a case to answer as federal government spends 47.57 billion naira to service debts. We'll bring you more after this break. Please stay with us.
I am on the streets of Abuja, the Nigerian Federal Capital Territory, just like any other nation. Nigeria is coping with various challenges, which include socio-economic issues, unemployment, and insecurity.
As we are alive to review the first 100 years of our nation, so by the grace of God, with others, we are alive to review what we have done during the time that we have the opportunity to be in the leadership of this country.
We cannot continue like this as a nation. A time will come when the poor in this country will have nothing to eat but the rich. A time will come, those of us who drive on jeeps, it will become dangerous to even drive those jeeps outside. What happened in Libya is smelling in Nigeria.
In a quest to provide solution to some of these challenges, here comes Project Nigeria.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has said the governor-elect of Ekiti State, IF Aishe, still has a case to answer following corruption charges. The commission described media reports that it has dropped the corruption case against the governor-elect of Ekiti State, Mr. IF Aishe, as untrue. The agency's head of media and publicity, Mr. Wilson Uwajarin, told journalists that the recent election of Aishe has not affected the ongoing trial of the governor-elect at the Federal High Court Ado Ekiti for alleged corruption. Uwajarin said that the case would come up for hearing on July 15, 2014, adding that the immunity clause in the Constitution applied to the President, the Vice President, sitting governors, and their deputies, and not governors-elect. The Nigerian government said it spent the sum of 47.57 billion naira in the 2013 fiscal period to serve its debt owed multilateral institutions. This is contained in a document of the Budget Office in its 2013 Consolidated Budget Implementation Report, jointly signed by the Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and the Director General of BOF, Dr. Bright Okogu. It said the amount was used to settle debt obligations to institutions such as multilateral creditors and non-pari club bilateral creditors, among others. Giving a breakdown of the payment, the report stated that $143.02 million, or 48.1%, was paid to multilateral creditors, $40.95 million, or 13.77%, was paid to the non-pari club bilateral creditors, and $71.63 million, or 24.04%, to commercial and ICM Eurobond creditors, and $41.75 million, or 14.03%, to others. The report puts the country's external debt stock as of December 31st, 2013 at $8.821 billion, indicating an increase of 6.75% over the $8.264 billion recorded in the third quarter of the year. Delegates at the ongoing national conference in Nigeria's capital were told that there were more than 752 Nigerians languishing in British jails. Apart from this, they were also informed that about 700 Nigerians are currently serving various jail terms in China, 500 in India, and 96 in Indonesia, out of which 23 have been on death row. The Committee on Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Matters, headed by former Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, stated this in its report, which was presented to the conference. The committee stated this while discussing on whether Nigerian prisoners serving outside the country should be repatriated home to complete their jail terms. And now in African news, a Sudanese woman fled from death row on Monday has been detained with her family at Khartoum Airport. Maryam Ibrahim was sentenced to death by hanging in May for renouncing Islam to Christianity, sparking widespread outrage at home and abroad. Reports say about 40 security agents detained Mrs. Ibrahim along with her husband Daniel Wani and 2 children at the airport. On Monday, Mr. Wani said the family intended to leave for the United States. Mrs. Ibrahim was released from prison after an appeal court annulled the death sentence imposed on her. Now sports. NTA Sports 24, the sport channel of the Nigerian Television Authority, has secured the broadcasting organization of Nigeria's right for free-to-air screening of the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. According to a statement by Star Times, Nigerians during this football season can get to watch the matches with the best picture and sound qualities available on NTA Sports 24 and other NTA multi-channels available on the Star Times platform. The company said the free-to-air channel is showing on NTA Star TV Network Channel 628. The statement quoted the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation (NBC) as saying that the NTA Star TV Network Limited is obliged to transmit the obligations of the states and local television stations in the country, especially in just the pilot city for digital migration. And that's the much you can take on Ben Television News. I am Nkiru Obuli. Many thanks for watching.